Okay. Can everybody hear me? I am figuring out audio and everything. Okay. I think audio is working. Okay, I see you guys all saying Robert dot Lucky. Awesome. Awesome. All right. All right. I'm gonna wait like 2 more minutes for the let more people come in so that we have a decent group of people in here so I can start out. Okay. Yes, awesome. I'm really glad this worked out first try. you you never know with these live streams how they're gonna go and stuff. A lot of the technology is still rather new. Um, okay. Okay, the screen is gray. That should be good now. It should change. It should be the satellite imagery over the Pacific Ocean. Okay, we got 46 people in here. Okay, let's get started. Hello, everybody. Jonathan Pulley. I'm most of you probably know who I am. I do the weather on the Wibion weather page. I also do YouTube videos up here. Today, we're going to talk about the storm system that's coming into the Pacific Northwest tomorrow, Saturday, October 25th. It is the 24th today. It's going to bring some potential for some localized windstorm conditions to the parts of western Washington, maybe even southwest BC as well. I'm going to make sure to go extra in depth for the Whidbey Island area since I know most of you are from the Whidbey Island area. So let's get right into things. So right now we're looking at the satellite imagery right now of the Northeast Pacific Ocean. Here's Alaska up here. And here's Washington, Oregon, California, and here the outlines are a little hard to see under all these colors. But let's, what I want to turn our focus to is this storm right here. This is our storm that's now starting to fully form off our coastline. This is going to continue to move towards our coastline tomorrow, and then move inland and weekend later Saturday evening. This is going to be bring strong winds, thunderstorm chances, and some really big waves to the coastline as well. I'm actually currently in Astoria, Oregon right now on the coastline. I'm out storm chasing this storm, and I'm hoping to get some strong winds tomorrow and maybe some thunderstorms. There's even a slight chance of some water spout action, maybe a weak tornado moving ashore tomorrow along the coast, and then the strong winds will move inland later Saturday evening, tomorrow evening for places like the Puget Sound, along the northwest interior like Whidbey Island, the San Juans, and stuff like that. But right before we continue going, I'm going to look at the chat real quick to make sure you guys have any questions. Hello, Michael. Thank you for all you do. You're very welcome, Michael. I love being able to do what I do with weather forecasts and stuff. I really enjoy talking about it, and I enjoy helping you guys plan out your days and stuff. Hello, EP Trick Shots. Hello, Elijah. So let's get into the forecast models. Why don't we right now? Okay. So right now we're looking at the European model. This is the Gulf of Alaska right here. So Alaska's up here, Washington, Oregon, and California are down there. Here's the low pressure system that we're watching right here. You can see it doesn't look very impressive right now, but if we play this out, this is this evening right now. This is right about now when we're talking right now. About 8 o'clock, the storm's starting to develop. And then look at this. It starts dropping down to maybe a 987 millibar low by late tomorrow morning. It's not a very deep low, but it's got a pretty strong pressure gradient on the backside of it. So when this storm actually starts moving inland, that really strong wind on the backside of the storm is going to start moving in. And I'll show you the wind gusts and stuff here in a moment. So this moves in and then weakens. But the big thing to notice right here is this pressure gradient. That's where you get those really strong winds when you get the high pressure rushing the low pressure. So you get this really tight gradient right here on the backside and on the south side of this low pressure system. That's going to bring some pretty strong winds on the coastline, and we'll move those strong winds into the Puget Sound, Whidbey Island, Seattle area as well. Even Portland's going to get on some of the wind action tomorrow as well. And I'm going to mostly focus this stream on this storm. I'm not going to be going out next week or anything because this is really the main thing we should be talking about. It's the main weather story over the next week or so, at least as of this moment. So now let's take a close look at things here of Washington, Oregon. You can see Whidbey Island right here, Seattle's right here, Vancouver, Washington down here, Portland right here, Vancouver, BC up here, just to give you guys an idea of what all these where everything is on this map. So this is surface pressure. We're now looking at a closer look at the pressure. So this is now we're going in the Saturday morning. Look at this. Here comes our storm system right here, this deep low pressure system right here. This is the North American model. It's a bit more high resolution, so it lets us see the details a little more. So notice how it gets it down to about 985 millibars here around Saturday afternoon. And look at this pressure gradient as it starts moving in Saturday afternoon and evening and over into the overnight hours. The NAM has been a little later on the storm coming in and having it come in later in the evening and overnight Saturday. A lot of the other models though bring it in a bit earlier than this. So there's still some disagreement in the models right now, but generally we're in pretty good agreement that the storm's going to move in around sometime mid to late afternoon tomorrow and into the evening. So then that moves through and then dies off. So now let's go look at the wind gusts in miles per hour. This is what everybody wants to know. What are the potential wind gusts with this system? So let's play this out right now. So let's go to right about now. This is 8 p.m. You can see our cold front earlier that brought the atmospheric river and the rain and stuff. It's mostly starting to move out. There's still some rain around parts of the area, but mainly the winds all calm down. But now let's go in the Saturday morning. This is about 3 a.m. now. You can see the front associated with that low pressure system starting to approach the coastline early Saturday morning and really starting to move in the Oregon coastline, the southwest Washington coastline, off the rest of the Washington coastline as well. That front moves through, brings some strong southerly winds, but mainly only to the coastline. We'll bring some blustery winds into the evening. The big winds, though, are on the back side of the storm system, like I was showing you, where that really tight pressure gradient is. Here's about noon tomorrow, at 12 p.m. And see, look at this. This is what we call the bent back occlusion. It's a fancy weather term for the strong winds on the back side of low pressure systems. That's typically where we get the biggest pressure gradient, and all the winds get funneled on the back side. And as this starts moving in, look at this. It's bringing some 60 mile per hour plus winds to the parts of the Oregon coastline. 40 miles per hour plus for parts of the Willamette Valley. Definitely going to cause some power outages down there, especially since it's early in the season. And look at this. It got this bit of a enhanced area of winds right off the coastline about 5 p.m. that starts moving towards Westport in the Long Beach area. This is really where you're going to really want to watch out. If you're on the southwest Washington coastline, literally pretty much anywhere on the Washington coastline has the chances for this. This could bring in some potential wind gusts, 60, 65 miles per hour. And some models are showing up towards 70, maybe 75 miles per hour as this thing comes in Saturday evening. And then as it moves in, it comes right into the Puget Sound. Look at this. We got we're starting to gust up to 51 in Seattle by 9 p.m. That's pretty strong for Seattle. And we still got lots of leaves on trees. So that would likely definitely cause plenty of power outages. That lasts for a couple hours. Maybe Everett starting to gust up towards 50. And then now Whidbey Island. Whidbey Island is kind of in a more difficult zone of forecasting winds. The Olympic Mountains might actually protect us from the wind this time around, but some of the models are showing a pretty strong westerly surge of wind coming down the strait, and I'll show you that here in another model. The European model brings the winds kind of more out of the southwest over the San Juans and maybe northern Whidbey up towards Bellingham, which is not usually very normal for our westerly winds, but it really depends on exactly how that low comes in. So let's move into the next model. Here's the HRRR model. And before we get into that, I want to read your guys' comments real quick to know what you guys are asking about. Ellen Peterson, you're saying, I'm flying into SeaTac about 4:30. Will the weather be okay? Or 4:30. Let's look at the European model. Let's say 4:30 on Saturday. Is that correct? 4:30 on Saturday. And then Diane, do you think there's going to be some power outages in the Whidbey Island area? Yeah, let me get to that in a second. I do think there is potential for Whidbey Island as well. Maybe not as much as other areas, but there's still some disagreement on how strong those are going to be. You're very welcome, Diane. I really am glad that be able to help you guys out with this, and I love talking about the weather. So, Ellen, you're talking about I'm going to assume you're talking about 4:30 on Saturday. You're going to be coming in the SeaTac. It's going to be probably pretty bumpy. I don't think the flight is necessarily going to get canceled. You never know with airlines, though. They sometimes they have their own rules on how strong. It's probably going to be pretty bumpy, though. Maybe some gusts towards 30, 40 miles per hour as you're descending in the SeaTac. So definitely going to probably have some turbulence. If the winds are a bit stronger, they might maybe delay or delay the flight. I'm not exactly sure. You never exactly know with the airlines what they're going to do. So now let's look at the HRRR model. This is a more high resolution model that's going to give us a better look at things. Here is about Saturday morning at 5 a.m. You can see the cold front starting to approach the coastline. However, notice how it's a bit stronger of winds on the HRRR model than the European model. Because the HRRR model is able to show individual rain showers, and rain showers can help mix down the strong winds aloft, especially with storm systems like the one that's coming in tomorrow. And look at this. It's showing little tiny pockets of 70 mile per hour plus gusts right along these showers that are moving into with the front on the Oregon coast. These could cause localized damaging winds on the Oregon coastline. However, they will die really quickly as they move inland. Some of them might move into the Willamette Valley and Southwest Washington with maybe some gusts up towards 40 to 55 miles per hour. So definitely could get some very isolated strong winds Saturday morning, maybe around 6 to 9 a.m. on the Washington, Oregon coastlines. Then here comes the big winds. Really not much of a break for the Oregon coastline. You got strong southerly and southwesterly winds starting to come into the Oregon coastline. Some strong wind gusts with over 40 miles per hour for parts of the Willamette Valley and the Portland area as well. And here comes that bent back occlusion, what we're talking about. It's also sometimes referred to as a sting jet. I know that sounds kind of dramatic, but us weather people like to come up with fun names to talk about the weather to make it a little bit more interesting. So it's not the fear monger or anything like that. I do not want to fearmonger at all. There's no use in that, and it only hurts people's perception of things. So it's just a fun word. We can call this a sting jet, bent back occlusion, whatever makes sense. And as this comes in, the HRRR is showing some winds starting to approach 80 miles per hour off the coastline as this starts approaching the Oregon coast around 2 to 3 p.m. That would be really strong wind for the coastline, especially early in the season as well. They're used to stronger winds out there on the Oregon coastline, stuff like that. But you start approaching 70 miles per hour and that's not something that normally happens multiple times a winter or anything like that, especially early in the season. So definitely the HRRR model has got some very strong winds to the coastline. And then it brings another smaller low pressure system. This low pressure system might have a couple circulations spinning around in it because it's going to be a bit disorganized. So we might have a secondary low moving in on around 4 to 6 p.m. in the Westport according to this one model. So you can tell that already we've looked at two models, and some of them are favoring down near Oregon and far southwest Washington. However, some are bringing it all the way up the Westport and Ocean Shores as well. So it's not going to be this huge widespread swath of damaging winds. It's going to be more localized, especially along the coastlines and stuff. But it's going to cause some pretty damaging winds for some of these areas. Then here comes even another interesting part. Look at the HRRR by about 7 to 8 p.m. on Saturday evening. We're starting to get some 50 plus mile per hour gusts moving into the Olympia and Tacoma area, Seattle. Look at that. It's almost approaching. There's a little bit of an orange dot in there. That's about 60 miles per hour right off of Elliott Bay in Seattle. But look at that westerly surge coming down the Strait of Juan de Fuca. You're starting to approach 60 miles per hour off of the Dungeness Lighthouse there in the Strait of Juan de Fuca. You're hitting about almost 50 miles per hour for parts of up from like Coupeville up to the Deception Pass area, 40 plus miles per hour out to Mount Vernon towards Bellingham as well. So that malls are showing that as well. That's going to be when the Diane, that's when there's going to be the best potential for power outages. It's going to be Saturday evening, probably around 6 to maybe 10 p.m. It's hard to know exactly the hour it's going to show up. We can't really say that for sure with models, but right around that Saturday evening time frame is when the best potential for strong winds are going to be in. Let me take a quick look at the chat again to make sure you guys what you guys are talking about. Cheryl, do you call this a bomb cyclone? And thank you. You're welcome, Cheryl. No, this is not a bomb cyclone. So a bomb cyclone is another exciting term that we like to come up with. That's for cyclones that develop and drop 24 millibars of pressure in a 24-hour period. So it's basically just describing a storm that's intensifying extra fast, and usually means that a pretty intense storm system as well on the average basis. Connie Rose, fantastic. I'm glad you're finding this fantastic. Bonnie DeRue, there is Jack Island sailing race Saturday out of Bellingham. I hope the sailors would be safe. Oh, that's a good point. I did not know that. So Saturday out of Bellingham, if they start out earlier, it's gonna be blustery almost the entire day up there in Bellingham. The really strong winds don't happen. Probably won't happen until Saturday evening, but it's gonna be kind of blustery the entire day for Bellingham. So that is probably not gonna be a good time to go sailing tomorrow. But I know a lot of sailors sailboats can withstand some strong winds, but I have to imagine they're probably going to delay it or maybe cancel the event if it continues to look like this, we're within like a day of the event, so that's pretty likely. Hello from Federal Way. Oh, hey, Matthew Fab from Western Washington Weather. _. Oh, great. Just when it's getting dark. Thanks for the heads up. I know it always seems like storms like to happen at nighttime. We're also getting to that time of the year where there's more darkness than daylight. So it's statistically more likely that we're going to get a storm system in the nighttime. Is there rain with this windstorm? Yes, Cheryl, there is going to be rain with this storm, and I'm going to get into the rain forecast in like 10 minutes, and I'll go into that. There's going to be thunderstorm chances as well, so we'll discuss that here after we're talking about the wind, which I think is the main threat, and then we'll talk about the rain and stuff. So let's get back into things. So you see the HRRR model has those strong westerly winds impacting parts of Seattle and Whidbey Island, the San Juans, Bellingham, Skagit County, maybe even Arlington as well out there. Camano Island, definitely. Fidalgo Island, yes. And then it dies down really quickly though, so it's not going to last very long. It would be a short, intense burst of wind for maybe a couple hours and then die down by the early morning hours. And so let's go to the NAM model now. This is the other high resolution model that we were looking at earlier. And let's see what it's showing for tomorrow. So you can see the front coming in with those showers and potential for a very isolated damaging winds on the coastlines tomorrow morning. The gusty winds moving the parts of the Willamette Valley as well. And then so now as we go into the Saturday afternoon, there it goes. It brings that bent back occlusion / sting jet thing coming in around, it comes in a bit later, like I mentioned earlier. It comes in a bit later than what some of the other models are showing, but it brings some 60 to 70 mile per hour gusts in the Cape Disappointment in the Story area around 4 to 5 p.m. And then it comes into the Puget Sound around 6 to 7 p.m. And then it brings another bent back occlusion, the main one, directly in the Westport with gusts maybe approaching 65, maybe 75 miles per hour. So that would be really intense for the Westport area and definitely would cause power outages. And then it brings 50 to 55 mile per hour gusts, a large chunk of the Puget Sound. That would be pretty damaging. The NAM sometimes overdoes wind speeds, but it's not really that unrealistic for this type of scenario. Once the low pressure system moves into the Puget Sound, there's going to be a pretty strong rise in pressure, and that's going to cause that wind to get funneled into the Puget Sound around the Olympic Mountains. And the NAM also has the westerly surge for Whidbey Island as well. However, it has it later at night, starting around midnight and 1 a.m. with maybe some gusts approaching 50-55 miles per hour for parts of North Whidbey Island. South Whidbey and Central Whidbey looks to remain on the calmer side. The Olympic Mountains kind of guards them, but like Clinton might get some gusts over 30 miles per hour. But yeah, it shows it hitting Bellingham and Mount Vernon as well, the San Juans especially, and it has it remaining breezy through about like 7 a.m. for parts of Whidbey Island. So the NAM is a bit later, so there's some timing differences that we're seeing in the models, and that's almost any storm we get, there's always a little bit of disagreement, but we know the general idea. The storm's going to be coming in the mid to late afternoon. The winds are going to reach the Puget Sound, maybe Whidbey Island by the late evening, the overnight hours. So we kind of got that. Models are starting to get into better agreement because we're within about 20 to 30 hours of the event. So now let's start moving into waves. I'm going to do a quick thing about waves, and then we'll get the rain and thunderstorm chances. So let's look at wave chances. So today, I was out on the coast today at Cape Disappointment, and there's some really big waves. There's beautiful waves hitting right in front of the North Head Lighthouse at Cape Disappointment. But tomorrow is going to have even crazier wave watching. There's probably some 10 to 15 foot waves today along the coast. Look at tomorrow though. It's Saturday afternoon. Look at these reds moving in here. This is about 20. These are 20 to 25 foot waves starting to approach the Oregon coastline all the way up the Washington coastline by about 3 to 5 p.m. High tide's about 3 p.m. at Cape Disappointment. So if you're wanting to go wave watching, that's going to be the time. But it's also, there's probably going to be really strong winds happening at that time as well, potentially. So there's going to be some crazy wave action out there at Cape Disappointment with 20 plus foot waves, strong winds coming directly into the beach as well. There's probably going to be some bigger waves along the Strait Juan de Fuca as well, but really not expecting too big of waves there as well. So good wave watching tomorrow if you want to go out. Make sure to never turn your back from the ocean because you can waves. I've been snuck up on by waves before on the coast, and it's they can catch you by surprise, especially on big storm days like this. And you want to keep your focus on the ocean. Okay, so now let's go into thunderstorm chances, and let me check the chat right before we get into that. Thank you. You're welcome, Bonnie. Oh, great. Just is there rain with this windstorm? Yes, I'll get into that. EP Trick Shot. So you're still on the coast? Yes, I'm on the coast. Hey, Washington Weathershed. Hey, Ben. Ben's out going a little bit of grocery shopping for me while I'm doing this. I'm storm chasing with Ben with Washington Weather Chasers today. I'm his chasing partner on this trip. Morris Jackson, severe thunderstorms. How strong in Eugene? They said 50 miles per hour gusts, but I think it will be more. There is potential for stronger gusts than that, but it's kind of hard sometimes to forecast wind gusts in the valley. I think Eugene's in the Willamette Valley. Let me remind myself. I don't forecast a ton for Oregon. Yeah, right in the southern Willamette Valley area. Yeah, there's potential. You're going to be pretty far away from the main storm, so you might not see those main winds. Let me check that. No, the HRRR and the NAM are hinting at maybe some 40, 50 mile per hour plus winds for parts of Eugene. It's probably not going to last that long, but you might get some strong winds tomorrow afternoon. And yeah, severe thunderstorms. Yeah, let me actually pull that up right now. The Storm Prediction Center actually has a marginal risk of severe thunderstorms. Let me pull that up real quick. Storm Prediction Center. Okay, let's look at this. Let's zoom in on Washington. Right down here. Okay, let me zoom in on it here. Look at this. Okay, we got a marginal risk, a level 1 out of 5 marginal risk for most of Oregon and then the southern portion of Washington. There's low tornado chances on the Oregon coastline tomorrow, Saturday. 2% chance for a given 20-mile area. So not great chances, which is typical. It's like finding a needle in a haystack trying to chase tornadoes down here. However, the main risk is going to be strong, locally damaging winds over as that low pressure system moves through and with some of those showers and thunderstorms. So yeah, there is a bit of a severe risk tomorrow as well, which is not terribly uncommon for this time of the year. This is kind of our severe weather season as fall and winter. So my weather station is showing 993 millibars right now. Thank you for this info. Taddy, sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. Where are you located? 993 is pretty low for right now, I think. Let's see what did the model say for right now about. Yeah, we should be pretty high pressure. We should be above 1,000 millibars right about now, depending on where you are. Most of the Pacific Northwest, except maybe parts of northern eastern Washington, might be below 900. I'll be on the lake with my anemometer fighting the wind. That's great, Morris. Yeah, I forgot my anemometer coming out to the coast, so I'm kind of bummed with that. I love recording the wind speeds live. Like a maniac. Yes. It might be fun down the lake tomorrow. The coast is going to be even more crazy though. But yeah, if it is 993 millibars now on your weather station, I'm wondering if that might be a bit off. Actually, let's look at the weather stations real quick. I'm sorry for those that want to look at the rain and stuff. I promise I'll get to it in a second. Let's look at pressure. It's going to be in the blue. This is weather stations on the National Weather Service observation page. Yeah, these blue numbers are the pressure. All of them show about 1,006 millibars, 1,007 millibars, 1,008 millibars. Up near Vancouver Island, it's starting to get closer to about 1,000 millibars, so it's not really that low yet. By tomorrow afternoon, though, then yeah, we'll start getting pressure down that low. So now let's go back to let's get back to thunderstorms now. Right now, let's look at the lightning flash density on the European model. So we had a couple thunderstorms along the coast this evening. It wasn't that crazy, which models didn't show it being as thunderstormy. Yeah, thunderstormy is a new term I just made up. We're calling it thunderstormy weather now. As we go in on Saturday morning, we're going to have that cold front moving in. There's going to be thunderstorm potential with that cold front on the coastline, and then there's going to be multiple rounds of showers and thunderstorm potential for the coastline all the way through Saturday afternoon and into the evening, and in the Sunday potentially, as well as another weak low pressure system moves in. However, for the inland locations, there's going to be a convergence zone that likely develops Saturday evening. It looks to be mostly focused around the Everett, South Whidbey Island, Everett area. It's hard to forecast exactly where these set up, but the European model has been really locked in. You can see the little reds and oranges and yellows right here showing up around 8 to 10 p.m. So about Saturday evening, it's when those westerly winds collide with those southerly winds coming up the Puget Sound, and you get that forces the air up. It condenses all the moisture in the air a lot more rapidly than the rest of the atmosphere, and that causes storm cells to form and eventually potential thunderstorms in the stronger cases, which is possible tomorrow evening. There is a potential all the way through the evening. Let's look at Sunday as well. Why not? There may be some scattered, isolated thunderstorm potential, but nothing too crazy. The thunderstorms aren't really the main story. Maybe on the coast, though, where there is potential for maybe a water spout or some locally damaging winds. So now let's look at composite reflectivity. This is basically what the HRRR model thinks the radar is going to look like over the future. So here's about right now. There's maybe some heavy precipitation. Actually, let me look at radar right now. I don't have radar on my computer right now, but I'm going to check it on my phone real quick and see how well the HRRR is doing for the precipitation. There's some, there is some intense rain showers over Whidbey Island right now, just to the west of Oak Harbor, moving into maybe Coupeville as well here soon. It's getting that sort of right. It had it over South Whidbey, but you can never, these models are always never going to be exact. But it generally showed that some intense showers around, so I don't think there's gonna be any thunderstorm potential with that tonight. Maybe the odd bolt, but there's some light to moderate rain for parts of the Seattle area as well. So let's play this out. We go through this evening, rain kind of dies down, maybe a few showers continuing the early morning hours, and then here comes the cold front tomorrow. Look how intense this thing looks. There's going to be maybe even some hail potential in this stuff. There's probably not going to be much hail, but some of these updrafts seem pretty intense. Look at that. It moves onto the coastline at about 5 to 6 to 7 a.m. And then look at this. Even after the cold front moves through, you got multiple rounds of showers and potential thunderstorms moving onto the coastline. Maybe 1, 2, 3 rounds of thunderstorms and showers and stuff. And these showers are all going to be carrying strong, maybe gusty, locally strong winds with them. Maybe another round in the evening. You can see even some stuff is moving up into the Puget Sound area by the mid to late Saturday afternoon. Maybe Whidbey Island as that westerly surge moves through around 8 to 9 p.m. as well. And then potential for more activity the coastline, maybe the Willamette Valley, all the way through Sunday. Maybe a very isolated nature on Sunday as well for parts of western Washington. But there's probably going to be intense rainfall. Let's look at rainfall rates. So there's likely to be half-inch to three-quarter-inch rainfall rates on the coastline tomorrow, mainly weaker as we move inland into western Washington. But we're still getting some cells, maybe producing half an inch of rain per hour for parts of southwest Washington Saturday afternoon, and continuing into Sunday as well. Intense rain showers and potential thunderstorms continuing in the Oregon as well. You can see even Whidbey Island getting on some action early Sunday morning as well. As those westerly winds continue to blow and remain a little bit breezy through Sunday morning. So that's kind of the rain story. It's not going to be widespread rain for mostly everyone. It's going to be just rounds of showers and storms. So some people will get thunderstorms. Some people will maybe not get that much rain. But if we look at the total rainfall, though, over the next 2 days, notice how there's some pockets of really heavy rainfall totals, especially on the coastlines in the mountains and Seattle as well, and maybe potentially getting over an inch in some of those rain bands, maybe up towards a half an inch of additional rainfall for parts of Whidbey Island. You can see there's a bit of a rain shower up here off of Vancouver, BC, maybe a half inch for Bellingham. You can see over an inch for Portland, maybe approaching 2 inches on parts of the coastlines as well, maybe isolated. You can see the mountains. Mount St. Helens is showing over 5 inches of rain because they get that upslope flow into the mountain, which causes the rainfall to be a lot heavier. So that's what's happening with the rainfall. Now let's look at why there's tornado potential. So let's look at significant tornado parameter. This is basically just a conglomerate of all the things that can make potential tornadoes. So like instability in the atmosphere, wind shear, and that sort of stuff, that the things that cause there to be strong updrafts and things that cause the wind shear causes updrafts to spin and can sometimes produce funnel clouds and tornadoes and stuff. So this kind of gives us a good idea of what the general conditions are. So let's go into Saturday. Look at how these colors kind of light up along the coastline tomorrow morning, and that's why the Storm Prediction Center has got that chance out. For tomorrow, you can see it blooming up again on Saturday afternoon as well, maybe southwest Washington as well. So there's really spinning shower and thunderstorm chances. The chance of a tornado is really low, but there may be a couple funnel clouds, maybe a water spout or something that comes onto the coastline. Not the main story by any means, but then that kind of dies off as we go in the later Sunday evening. Maybe some slight chances on the Oregon coast as we continue through that. So now I want to look at the low pressure system on the European model. So this is looking at an ensemble low pressure locations. So basically, we got like 50 different models that are all run based off the European model, and we get to kind of see a conglomerate of all the low pressure locations that it thinks that they're going to show up. So it kind of gives us an idea of like the uncertainty of where the storm is actually going to go. So you can see by Saturday evening, there's still quite a bit of spread in the low pressure systems on the European model. You can see there's a cluster that's up towards central Vancouver Island, and then there's another cluster right along the northern Washington coast, and there's still some that are like right off of Westport and Ocean Shores and stuff like that. And then you can see they move up into over the San Juans and stuff, and over the Olympic Mountains as well. So you can see that there's still disagreement in the exact track. So a 10-mile difference can mean like 40-mile-per-hour winds at Westport versus like 70 miles per hour. So it just goes to show that even with the incredible models we have nowadays, the advances we've made in the models, we still, even a day ahead, we still don't know exact information, but we can get the general idea, and that's what we can kind of see. We got a storm system that's going to bring showers and thunderstorms in on on Saturday morning. Then the main storm moves in Saturday afternoon, brings strong winds on the parts of the coastline into the valleys of the Willamette Valley, parts of the Puget Sound. Really start getting wind later in the evening as that low pressure system moves inland. Also would be on potential for a strong westerly surge of wind with gusts maybe 45 to 60 miles per hour, mostly probably tapping out like 50 miles per hour. My light just went out and tapped it with my foot there. Sorry about that. And so that the storm system will be gone and out of the area by Sunday morning, and then remaining some showers around the area on Sunday. So now I'm going to open up the questions and stuff. Everybody just throw your questions at me that you want me to answer. Anything that to your heart's content. Anything about wind, rain, thunderstorm chances, your personal location. Maybe if you want to just share what conditions you're getting right now. If you're getting heavy rain, maybe some gusty winds. Go ahead and just chat with me like you're in the room with me. Radar. Okay. Elijah, will you and Ben be live streaming tomorrow? Yes, we'll likely live stream a couple times tomorrow. You can catch us. I'm not going to be live streaming on my channel as I don't really have a good setup yet for live streaming on my phone. However, Ben's going to be live streaming on his phone on the Washington Weather Chasers on YouTube. So you can go over to his channel tomorrow if you want watch some live streams of the wind and stuff on the coast. The wind shear is going to be intense. Some of these storms may become mini supercells. You are correct, Morris Jackson. There is going to be potential for some weak supercells tomorrow, and that's that's going to generate that tornado threat on the coastline mostly. Taddy, you're in Oak Harbor. Okay. Yeah, that's weird. I don't know why your weather station's showing that. Sometimes weather stations do weird things here and there. So why, as it gets towards the Nanaimo, it breaks up? I think it's because, let's look at the jet stream real quick. So our cyclones up here in the mid latitudes get their energy from the temperature difference up in along the jet stream. So let's zoom out here to the Pacific Ocean. Here's the jet stream at about 25,000 feet in the atmosphere. Notice our low pressure system is already north of the jet stream by Saturday morning. So that's when it's going to start reaching peak strength around the late morning. So by the time we get into the evening, it moves into Vancouver Island. It's displacing itself from the jet stream, and it's moving away from the jet stream where it's getting that energy from. And so it basically loses it's like if you have your phone plugged in to a charging port and you unplug it and it starts dying off. You slowly lose battery in your phone. The jet stream is basically the power cable, and once you remove the phone, it starts losing power, and eventually it completely loses steam and you can't use your phone anymore. That's basically what the jet stream does the storm systems up here in the mid latitudes. So that's kind of why it's weakening as it moves into like the Nanaimo area by Saturday evening. Might be get a squall line. Yes, that line of storms Saturday morning for the Oregon and Washington coastlines, it looks to be a squall line. However, there's going to be little segments that are cut out, and that it's not going to be a solid straight line of showers, I don't think, and that you're going to be able to get stronger winds in those little eddies in the front. So that's kind of interesting to talk about. It's dumping buckets of rain at my house in Oak Harbor right now, Lori says. Yeah, Lori, I just checked on radar, and there's a really big, there's a really heavy thing of rain moving through northern Whidbey right now. So that makes sense why you're seeing those heavy rains right now. That'll probably last for another hour or two before it moves off to the east. West Coast weather. Hi, Lori. Hi. Good evening, Brian. Sharon, thank you, Jonathan, for always keeping us updated. You're a huge asset, not only to all of the West Coast, but absolutely to our island community. Stay safe. Oh, thank you, Sharon. I really appreciate those kind words. I love doing these weather forecasts for you guys, helping to plan your week out or just fuel your weather passion. I know there's a lot of people that just love learning, just hearing things about the weather and stuff. And I know that was me when I was younger as well. And I just loved hearing the weather and stuff and just kind of being a general observer of all of our storms and stuff. And now I've gotten to the next level of nerd where I'm forecasting the weather and storm chasing now. So yeah, I've kind of evolved over the years. What's the south end of Whidbey looking like for wind? Dirt Slinger says. South Whidbey, I really don't think you guys are going to get that strong of winds. You're probably going to be maxing out maybe at 30 to 40 miles per hour on the day on Saturday. You'll probably get some southerly winds during the morning and the middle of the day. And then by the evening, you guys might get some southwesterly winds, but it's probably going to be mainly staying on the very southern tip of Whidbey Island. Everett's going to be getting more on that action, but really maxing around maybe 30, 35, 40 miles per hour. Howdy, John. Oh, hey, Puget Sound Stormwatch. Welcome to the channel. What is the weather going to be in Southwest Washington? Southwest Washington, that's where the main weather action is going to be happening. Here's the HRRR model. That's where the strong winds are going to be most likely as that back of the low pressure system moves in. That's where we're also going to have some potential for isolated water spout action on Saturday morning and stuff like that. Me and Benjamin Yurkovich are going to be down here on the northwest Oregon coastline tomorrow morning. We're staying in Astoria tonight at a hotel. And then we probably will go up the Long Beach or maybe Westport or just east of there tomorrow afternoon for the stronger winds, depending on where exactly they set up. So yeah, Southwest Washington is going to be in part of the stormiest area of the Pacific Northwest on Saturday. In Eugene, waiting for the wind. Yeah, Robert, you guys will probably get some strong winds. You're not in the main area of wind potential, but yeah, you can see Eugene's up right about down here. Your malls are still showing maybe potential for some 40 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts, especially when those rain showers and maybe isolated thunderstorms move through. Those showers and storms help to mix the wind down. So you got the stronger winds are always aloft, higher up in the atmosphere, and when you get heavy rain and stuff, it pushes that air down to the surface, and then that's what causes the winds to spread out and cause locally stronger winds along those rain showers. Seaton, this is a pretty we usually get one or two, we get about one of these storms every single year. Maybe not these, if we do get 70 mile per hour plus winds on the coastline coming in from the west, that's not something we get like every single winter, but it's not super uncommon. So I'm not trying to hype this up or anything. I'm just trying to give you guys the details. I might sound excited because I'm a weather nerd, and us weather nerds love observing the weather, even if it's regular things. It's still fun to chat about to us and stuff. So I hope you appreciate our enthusiasm a bit. Island LS, thank you, Jonathan. We really appreciate you. You are very welcome. Elijah, well, I'm going to head out and I'll see you and Ben tomorrow on your live stream. Sounds good. Have a good evening, Elijah. _, thank you so much for the forecast. I'm south of Coupeville and you're the only forecast I trust. Thank you. You're welcome, Dot. I really appreciate that. I grew up in south of Coupeville as well in Admiral's Cove, so I know that area very well. You guys are probably going to be in some of the calmest area of the Washington state tomorrow because the Olympics are probably going to protect you guys from a lot of the winds. So it's going to hardly get breezy, if anything. You might get some gusty west winds if the winds come in just right Saturday evening, but you probably aren't going to get much more than 30 to 40 miles per hour, if that even happens. So you're going to get a pretty calm area tomorrow for weather. Mark, what will the low do tomorrow night as it comes closer to Nanaimo? So yeah, let's look at the low pressure system on the HRRR model. So it comes in, starts reaching peak strength around the midday on Saturday. Then it kind of spins around, and you can see the tight pressure area on the south side spins around and weakens and moves up in the Nanaimo, and then weakens and moves up through the rest of southern BC and then off the map. If we zoom out, you can see it moves up off frame right here. Let me go to the European model that lets us see more of the map. So yeah, you see it moves in and then it weakens over the interior of British Columbia as it moves away from the jet stream. Oh, Morris, no one believed in me in 7 days in advance of the storm. Yeah, models actually did a really good job. They were showing a different storm this weekend, but then this new storm system coming out of the North Pacific, which is the one we're forecasting right now, came in as well. So the models were right about there at least being some sort of storm system this weekend, and they were saying that like a whole week in advance. So that's very nice. But yeah, weather people kind of do have a bad reputation. I think it's good to remind ourselves that the atmosphere is one of the most complex systems that we know. So even though we have really powerful weather models, we can only know so much. And we just do our best the way the possibilities and stuff. Even if the unlikely solutions are probably not going to happen, it's still good to share those because there's an odd chance every once in a blue moon that the low chance of something happening actually turns out to be right, and we always got to be prepared for that. I always say better to be prepared than sorry. And there's no harm in being a little extra prepared, extra aware and stuff. I don't like hyping things up or scaring people. That doesn't help anybody, and that's just counterproductive, all in the big scheme of things. Could flooding happen at some point? That's a great question, Brian. There could be some ponding on roadways and other low drainage areas tomorrow, especially under some of the heavier showers. It's going to be more sporadic and not really that bad of flooding. We're also early in the season, so the soil isn't super saturated yet. So there no major flooding as expected, but some isolated ponding on roadways, especially under heavier showers and stuff, is the most likely type of flooding we'll experience. I'm also in the Cove. My mom knew your dad. You know your mom knew my dad? That's wild. But yeah, it's a small world though, especially living on an island. I tell everyone to watch your forecast for accurate weather here in Oak Harbor. No one else understands our microclimates. Yeah, Whidbey Island is just crazy. We kind of live in the middle of everything. We got the ocean, the Strait of Juan de Fuca right there that keeps us a bit more moderated than other areas. Then we got the south. We got the rain shadow from the Olympic Peninsula. We got multiple water passageways. We got Admiralty Inlet, Saratoga Passage. We're in a really complex topography. Most of Western Washington is. And that's why I love doing the forecast for Whidbey Island. It's kind of a challenge. And also, there's not a lot of people like from the local news stations. No bad rep to the news stations and stuff. I know a lot of them at like Cairo and stuff. And they're great people and they try to do their best. But unless you're living on Whidbey Island, there's not a lot you can really know about Whidbey Island and its local microclimates. So that's why this page is even a thing, because we it's best to have a local that's forecasting the area. And because of Whidbey Island, where you can go drive 5 minutes inland and the temperature can be like 10-20 degrees warmer or colder depending on the season. So it's just crazy things like that make it pretty extra complicated than other areas across the world to forecast the weather, because we have so many different topography things, and it's pretty wild. Hey, what are the sustained projected wind for Eugene? Random exploring. Yes, let me look at I actually didn't bring up sustained winds. Thank you for reminding me to do that. So let's look at sustained winds real quick. They're going to be pretty heightened. You can see tomorrow as that cold front moves through, we may be getting along the coastline. We're starting to approach maybe 30 to 40 mile per sustained winds, maybe approaching over 50 miles per hour in those heavier showers. But those are going to be more likely in gusts. Eugene area, you guys are a bit more protected down there, but maybe 20 to 25 mile per hour sustained winds. That's pretty good for the valleys down there, I know. But you guys are going to be mostly getting your stronger storms, stronger wind gusts. The strongest winds are going to be in gusts because it's going to be kind of flowing out of the showers and stuff. So yeah, Sorry if I'm kind of starting to stutter and stuff. My throat's almost hurting a bit. I don't usually talk this much, but I love doing this either way. So I might have to get off soon, like head to bed early, to get up early tomorrow morning for storm chasing. But I'm going to try to answer all your guys' questions before I do that. But yeah, maybe it might start approaching 30-mile-per-hour sustained in the Willamette Valley as well, around maybe 3 to 4 p.m. But the wind gusts are going to be the main story down there. See you later, Dot. Granger, Jonathan, you are amazing. I still can't believe you're in high school. We love you and hope that you you never leave the island. Yeah, I couldn't imagine living anywhere else. I've lived on the island since I was about a couple months old. I was in high school a couple of years ago. I'm actually in college now, but I did running start, so I'm actually pretty young. I'm about to graduate this year from college at 20 years old, so I'm pretty young to be almost graduating college. But yeah, I started really getting in the weather about when I was 16 or 17, and now I've just been doing it for a few years. So now I kind of almost sound like a pro to a lot of people because I know so much. I haven't really taken much meteorology courses and stuff like that, but I've just kind of immersed myself in the weather world and kind of just learned by myself. Also, John Pollock, who used to do the forecast for the Whidbey Island page, I learned a lot from him and how the forecasts around Whidbey Island and stuff like that. So it also really helps that I grew up here and I kind of know the weather patterns a lot more. But what's happening in Oak Harbor? Yes, Oak Harbor is probably going to be one of the better places for strong winds on Saturday, or maybe the worst area, depending on how you view winds. Let's look at that real quick again. I want to zoom in, actually. Let's zoom in on Seattle, the Seattle area, to get a better look at things. Let's go to Saturday evening when the strongest winds. So let's start on Saturday late morning. There's going to be some gusty southerly winds going all day. Maybe some gusts 30 to 40 miles per hour for most of the area. Maybe some isolated gusts to 50 miles per hour for parts of northern Whidbey Island, Oak Harbor area. Then those breezy southerly winds will continue until the evening, and then that westerly surge comes in. That's probably going to be the strongest winds. There's going to be potential for some gusts towards 50 miles per hour with that, for lots of, maybe from Coupeville up to Anacortes, and maybe even reaching up to Bellingham even as well. So that's when the strongest winds are going to hit Oak Harbor. There's going to be some rain showers throughout the day. The thunderstorm chances are pretty low for Whidbey Island specifically because we're going to be getting rain shadowed a bit. But there is a very odd chance as well. Random exploring, no worries. Some warm sea salt water with some chamomile tea. Sleep well. Thanks for answering my question. You are very welcome. So anyways, if you guys have any more questions, let me know right now. I'm probably I need to get to bed early to get ready for storm chasing tomorrow. We're going to be heading out. It's probably the Oregon coast tomorrow morning, and then figuring out where we're going to go from there. We're going to be doing live streams on Washington Weather Chasers YouTube channel. Benjamin Yurkovich runs that page. That's where we're going to be live streaming, maybe watching some waves, the strong winds, maybe a thunderstorm as well, maybe a water spout if we're super lucky tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. You can find him on YouTube. Yeah, just Washington Weather Chasers. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for hopping on. I don't do these live streams that often, but I thought this was an appropriate time with the extra active weather coming in with this first good storm of the season for a lot of the area. There's probably going to be plenty of power outages for Seattle if these 50 plus mile per hour wind gusts come to fruition. So, and Whidbey Island as well, probably not as much because we've already gotten some wind this season, so the trees are already kind of prepared. However, there's still plenty of leaves on trees that will add issues. Yeah, peace out, Puget Sound Stormwatch Anthony. Have a good evening. Sleep well and have a great time tomorrow. Thank you for all you do. You're welcome, Shannon. Thank you. What could the wind be like in Kelso Longview? Yeah, let's check out Longview real quick. Let me remind myself where that is. Longview Beach, Washington. Oh yeah, Longview. Yeah, that's directly east of me right now. Let's zoom out real quick and look at Longview. Longview's right about here where that 36 mile per hour. Longview could definitely get some pretty strong gusts Saturday afternoon as that bent back occlusion of the back end of our storm system moves in. Maybe you could get some gusts over 50 miles per hour, which I know is pretty strong for Longview because you guys are a bit more protected out there in that valley. So yeah, you guys could definitely get some pretty strong winds later tomorrow afternoon. Let's look at some of the other models to see if they're also showing strong winds. The NAM maybe has some gusts approaching 45, maybe 50 miles per hour, not as strong, but most models have at least somewhat strong winds for you guys down there. Let's look at the Canadian model as well. It brings some gusty winds down there as well. You guys are a bit more protected down there, so I don't really expect there to be a lot of strong wind down there, but there is an isolated chance of some gusts over 50 miles per hour for you down there. You're welcome, Heck Girl. Brian, you're welcome, guys. What could be the wind like in Longview? Oh, yeah, that's you, Brian, that asked that question. Do you think Puyallup will see any strong winds? Tina, yes. Let's look at Puyallup here real quick. Puyallup, I know where Puyallup is. I've been there a couple times. You guys might get some gusty winds tomorrow morning, probably going to be just blustery. You guys are going to potentially could get this surge. Let's zoom in actually on Seattle so we can see things better. Okay, so here's about 6 p.m. tomorrow on the HRRR model. Here's Puyallup right around down this area right here. It brings in right about 6 to 8 p.m. a surge of wind for a couple hours tomorrow evening with gusts maybe over 50 miles per hour. That would definitely cause some power outages if that happens. Let's look at what the NAM model says as well. It also has a very similar story. Look at that. Maybe even approaching 53, 54 miles per hour. That would definitely cause some power outages as well. Let's look at the European model down there as well. Also, 45, maybe approaching 50 miles per hour. So right around 6 to 9 p.m., I would say is what if you guys are going to get strong winds, that's when you guys are going to get the strong winds in Puyallup. You're welcome, Sharon. Thank you for always keeping us informed. You are awesome. You are very welcome, Tina. Thank you for the kind words. Bye for today. Yeah, see you later, Brian. Maybe catch you on the live stream tomorrow on the Washington Weather Chasers page. Will Issaquah get wind? If so, how high wind gusts? Okay. Yeah, Issaquah. Issaquah is a bit harder to forecast for because you guys are a bit closer to the mountains, but let's look at what some of the models are showing out there. I think you're going to have similar winds potential to Puyallup. Issaquah is a bit down here a bit. Let me remind myself exactly where Issaquah is. Issaquah. Oh yeah, even a little farther north along I-90. So you're right about here. Okay. Let's look. May get some breezy winds during the middle of the day, throughout a lot of the day, after the mid-morning. However, yeah, the HRRR brings maybe some 40 to 45 mile per hour gusts, maybe maybe even 50 miles per hour by 9 to 10 p.m. as well. Don't take the times exactly, but give or take maybe an hour or two. Yeah, the NAM also brings some gusts, maybe even up to 55 for Issaquah. I'm not sure if that's exactly going to happen. Issaquah is a bit more protected out there, but there's definitely some high potential tomorrow evening for you guys out there. So anyways, guys, if any last questions, I'll answer. But thank you guys for joining and hanging out with me for a bit. I'm going to try to start doing live streams semi more often because I like being able, it's a lot easier to answer questions this way than me typing them out on social media and stuff like that. So thank you guys for joining. I'll be, like I said, we'll likely be streaming a couple times tomorrow. I'm not exactly sure what time on the Washington Weather Chasers page on YouTube. So you can go over there and maybe turn on notifications if you want to get notified for that tomorrow, or just check in periodically to see if we're live tomorrow. But yeah, we got a storm system coming in tomorrow, strong winds. The strongest winds are going to be across the Washington and Oregon are going to be Tomorrow late afternoon and evening, probably about after 3 p.m. is when the winds are really going to be moving inland, and then the Puget Sound's going to have the strongest winds around probably 7 to 10 p.m. in the evening. There's probably going to be power flashes if these wind gusts do get over 50 miles per hour, since there's a lot of trees on the power on all the trees and stuff around the area. So anyways, you're welcome everybody for doing this. I appreciate you guys all hopping on, and I'll talk to everybody in the next video. Goodbye everybody, and God bless.